The movie begins by showing a woman named Heather, who looks sad and anxious. She has a favorite stone that she always holds in her hand to ease her anxiety. Many insects in her house make her feel worse, especially wasps that often land daily. Heather doesn't live alone. She has a husband named Simon, who is very busy with his work, always leaving early in the morning and returning late at night. After a glimpse into Heather's daily life, the story takes us straight to her childhood. At that time, Heather had a friend named Carla. One day, Carla accidentally found an injured pigeon. However, instead of helping it, Carla killed the pigeon. One day, before shopping to prepare food for her husband's business colleagues meeting at home, Heather was busy looking for information about Carla. After returning from shopping, she accidentally dropped her favorite rock in her haste. At that moment, her neighbor's children, who happened to be behind her, immediately helped pick up the stone. Long story short, Heather finished preparing a meal for her husband and colleagues. However, the sound of wasps disturbed her again. The anxiety that had peaked made Heather not care anymore, even though there were guests at home. Without thinking, she decided to act by disturbing the wasp nest behind the ceiling. The wasps flew out, panicking the guests at Heather's house. The meeting, which was in full swing, had to be interrupted, and Simon's guests decided to leave early. Simon, feeling disappointed and upset, immediately scolded Heather severely. Heather could only remain silent without offering any resistance. Meanwhile, it was discovered elsewhere that Carla was now working as an employee at a well-known supermarket. In contrast to Heather, she is known to be Judo-tech and unfriendly. Carla already has 4 children, with the eldest named David, who is very naughty. On the other hand, Carla's husband is suffering from a disease that makes him sit weakly on a sofa. In addition, Carla has a side job as a comfort woman. One night, after finishing work and relaxing for a while, she opened her cell phone and accidentally saw a message from Heather. Without thinking, Carla agreed to Heather's invitation to meet. Finally, the next day, they met face to face. Heather felt awkward chatting with Carla, her every word was stuttered, while Carla herself looked very indifferent. During the meeting, it was revealed that Carla was pregnant. After chatting for a while, Carla decided to leave immediately, feeling there was nothing important she needed to hear from the meeting. While chasing after Carla, Heather continued to vent that she needed Carla's help. However, Carla continued to ignore everything Heather said. Heather continued pursuing Carla, even buying some things to talk to her. Feeling stuck, Heather finally offered a tremendous amount of money on the condition that Carla be given the task of killing Simon. In a flash, Carla agreed because she needed the money. Since the deal, Heather seemed more cheerful than usual. She woke up early to tend to the garden, a habit she had never done before. Her neighbor's children also noticed this change. Meanwhile, Carla was getting ready to carry out Heather's task elsewhere. Arriving at Heather's house, Carla immediately grabbed the most complicated item, ready to help Heather finish Simon off. Carla mentioned that the execution had to be done very neatly. However, strangely, Carla had never seen Simon's face. No picture of Simon was displayed in the house, all the frames only contained pictures of insects. Finally, Carla forces Heather to show Simon's face so the execution can go smoothly. At that moment, Carla was amazed because Simon had become one of her regular customers. Heather already knew that Simon often played women, and one of the women who subscribed to Simon was Carla. Long story short, Heather was seen writing a letter, and who knows what the letter contained? Shortly after writing the letter, Heather went out to take it to her neighbor's house. However, on the other hand, it turns out that Heather has been holding Carla captive, who doesn't know what will happen next. This story further reveals the dark side of the relationship between Heather and Carla. Apparently, since the incident when Carla killed a pigeon, their relationship has been strained and turned hateful. They were no longer extended friends, and to make matters worse, at one point, Carla and 2 of her friends surrounded and restrained Heather, blocking her every move. At that moment, Carla and her friends sexually assaulted Heather. Since that traumatic event, Heather has suffered from a severe anxiety disorder, which led to her inability to have children into adulthood. Long story short, Carla tried to find an opportunity to escape, but her efforts were in vain. She was trapped, with nowhere to go. Suddenly, Carla screamed because the duct tape on her mouth was open, but Heather immediately put the duct tape back on Carla's mouth. However, Carla's screams had been heard by Heather's neighbor's children, who became suspicious and approached Heather's house. Surprisingly, after that, Heather began to let Carla's bonds free one by one, untying her feet and hands. Carla took advantage of this to escape, continuing to scream while the atmosphere in the house became increasingly tense. Carla tried to attack Heather, of course, to find a way out. However, despite her efforts, there was no chance of escape, as Heather had anticipated all the possibilities. In desperation, Carla finally gave up. Just then, Heather confessed to killing Simon and said that she felt no need to attack Carla anymore. At first glance, Heather's kindness made Carla feel a little calm. However, when Heather was seen reaching into her pocket as if to retrieve something, Carla immediately panicked. Not wanting to wait any longer, Carla immediately grabbed a knife and attacked Heather, trying to protect herself and find a way out. Surprisingly, Simon was seen returning home simultaneously, indicating that Heather had lied and that Simon wasn't the one she was after. Simon witnessed the moment, and it turned out that the contents of Heather's pockets were her favorite rocks. As it turned out, that was Heather's true intention. She felt that she would never be able to make anyone happy, including her husband, and the only way for Heather to eliminate Carla and Simon was in this crazy way. In addition, Heather also deliberately took advantage of her neighbor's concern through the letter she wrote. The letter trapped Simon, as if Simon and his mistress planned to finish off Heather, and that night, they were both in the same place when Heather died. Who would have thought? It turns out that this movie tells a revenge plan that involves three things at once: mockery, betrayal, and infidelity. With that, the film ends.